SBTV.
Hey, it's Julia Hardy here for SBTV Games and Gadgets. We're here at the 31st Annual Golden Joystick Awards here in London, and we got an exclusive interview with the Lifetime Achievement Award winner Ken Levine. This guy is the co-founder and creative director of Irrational Games. He's also most famous for Sit 'em Shop 2, Thief, and of course the incredible BioShock franchise.
I don't really understand what I just saw back there, but it sure as hell looks like a shortcut to getting us killed.
Mr. DeWitt? I think we've got trouble. Catch!
That'll do!
Get the girl! Let me go!
Tear it down. Tear it all down.
I'm here with Ken Levine, who's the co-founder and creative director of Irrational Games, and you've just won the Lifetime Achievement Award. How do you feel?
I feel a little old, of course, because it's a lifetime. So you figure this is time to like go into the tomb with like with my followers and like the ancient pharaoh.
Get buried with them like a pharaoh?
That's right. Everybody signs a contract at Irrational, understands that's what happens.
And if you follow you on Twitter, then you will be going with him. Sorry.
Going into the tomb. So sorry about that. Read the fine print. It's interesting to get a Lifetime Achievement Award in an industry that didn't exist when I was born. Yeah. And I started playing games when I was around 6 or 7 years old. And what's exciting about it is not so much like the looking back nature of it. It's the fact that I still feel, even after having worked in the industry for 17 or 18 years, that I'm still sort of looking up and like trying to figure out like what's next, and looking around at all like colleagues, whether they're my age or 20 years old or 18 years old, coming up with amazing stuff, still innovating, because our industry, we don't know what we are yet. And we're still figuring that out. And so I kind of feel like, I think a lot of people win a Lifetime Achievement Award in like film, and they sort of sit on top of this mountain and they look out at their creation, where I feel like we're at the bottom of the mountain. And I think that's why I love games, is to be looking up and seeing, well, okay, we did this now, but what we've done so far is a footnote. It's going to be what comes next.
Well, it's constantly in flux, and like you're saying, we are sort of like in this situation where we don't really know, because it's so changing and it's so evolving all the time, whereas film kind of, like, you change how you shoot stuff, but intrinsically the story's the same, whereas with gaming it's kind of, you can actually do anything, right? Yeah,
the experimentation of a film is sort of like, well, that was cool, that was an interesting experiment, where games, sometimes you just encounter them, you don't even know what they are. You don't even know what you're encountering. It's just, what is the experience I'm supposed to be having? And, and I've sort of done, worked in a certain area specifically in, immersive narrative, first person stuff, but I look around and, and I'm thinking about what's next for that, what's next for narrative. And I'm sitting here scratching my head, and that's where the exercise I've been going through recently is saying, okay, I sort of done this stuff. Now, what's next for narrative? And I'm scratching my head, but all around there's people scratching their heads, going, okay, what's next for this? What's next for that? And I love the fact that, we're still in that experimental phase. And I think that's what's most exciting for me. It's not about a Lifetime Achievement Award feels static, but hopefully it's about, okay, well, you've hit this certain thing. Now, what's next? What's next? What's next?
So, you get another one in like another 18 years, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Every 18 years, I'll be counting on one.
I mean, what do you think about stuff like biometrics? Do you think that has a big role to play in narrative storytelling?
I think that, our ability to sense what the audience is feeling is tough, because I remember when I did plays, I used to write plays, I'd go in the theater on the opening night, and you'd feel this energy from the audience, and you could sit there and rewrite off of that. You can feel the jokes. You can feel even some nights when it was just off, and the jokes wouldn't hit, or the emotions wouldn't hit. And we have so little connection to the audience right now. So any ability for us to sort of heighten that experience. Like I was walking with Leone, one of our team, yesterday, and we were walking in the theater district here, and we went by Les Miserables, which has been around for 100 years, whatever. Yeah. And the ability of all those performances, all that time to sort of be with an audience and whether you like that show or not, but to get for that, the amount of people who've had an emotional experience and the kind of emotion that's created in a room, we're starting to get like tiny little things. Like I get to watch, there's some great videos of people filming themselves playing the end of BioShock Infinite. And that was the first time, that I really sort of got to watch an audience interact with the experience, but it's on a very crude level. It's just a video. And but biometrics, like anything else, it's data that can be used for good or for evil. But anything that gets us, closer to the audience and helping them understand the experience, helping us understand their experience of what we create is a good thing.
Cool. So why do you think you've won this award? What is so awesome about Ken Levine?
I think I've chosen really good collaborators from the very first company I worked at, Looking Glass, which was, doing the most innovative stuff at the time, really creating the concept of being in another world, of really existing in another world. That's what excited me so much when I played System Shock 1, and then I was fortunate enough to get to do the sequel. And I think that at Irrational, we chose a fairly narrow focus of like immersing you in a world, immersing you in a very particular world with tons of detail. And I think my OCD, played. I would probably.
That's good, right?
Thank you, OCD. A huge debt to that, because that sort of attention to detail, and and people at the company have been very patient with sort of that insane attention to detail, because we try to think of really, like, all the kind of small details that you'd find in a world, but we just sort of make these fantastical worlds and do it in that. And I think that's probably, if I were to die tomorrow, that's probably what I'd be remembered for. But I think it's also, there's after a period of time, I think people do like some degree of consistency of somebody who was around when games weren't really the kind of big mature commercial thing. Where, I mean, I was in the industry for 12 years, and I ran Irrational for 10 years until we had our first hit, so we come from a long line of experimentation, a long line of struggle, and people look at us now and they say, oh, those guys are these big guys, they have these big successful hits. It was a very, very long journey. I didn't even get into games till I was 29 years old, so I was over 40 till I had my first hit. So it was a long time coming. Maybe it's just the gray hairs that there is fact. Not that the award was a long time coming, not that I deserved it for a long time, but it was. But the work, it wasn't like overnight success by any stretch of the imagination. I was 41 when BioShock came out, and I think it just shows. People ask me all the time, like, well, what's the secret to being successful in the industry? And the answer to me is always just show up. Be there. And if I wasn't there on certain days, if I didn't, go to meet the playwright I met when I was 21, who introduced me to an agent that got me in the film business. If I didn't get that job, I probably wouldn't have got the jobs in the game industry. If I didn't choose to start Irrational, if I didn't go pitch BioShock for the 400th time to the 400th publisher, who people kept rejecting it. It's just show up.
I think there's a lot of young people today kind of think they do see sort of success in almost every field and don't really realise the amount of work and energy and how many times you get told to basically F off, right? They tell you to go away and you have to keep coming back and keep trying to basically do it again.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the path to success is failure. It's repeated failure. You fall down, and that sounds really like cute. Coming, I think, from me. People like, oh, this guy's been successful, and he's this, and he's that. Man, there were so many days where I just didn't know how I was going to get up again. So many gigs we got canceled. So many rejections. I mean, I had a whole failed career as a screenwriter first, and now here I am, fortunate enough, after coming around and doing games again, to be able to get to write not just a movie, but the movie that I dreamt of since I was a little kid. The movie that really got me started in this whole dystopia thing, this Logan's Run film. But I failed as a screenwriter first for 20, and then 25 years later, I get another shot to do it. And I think that's really, to me, the only key. Talent matters, but it's really, can you pick yourself up and drag yourself back to the table.
Amazing. So, you know, from, you know, you've won a Lifetime Achievement Award now, Mr. Ken Levine. How do you see the industry going in, like, say, the next generation of console? What do you think we'll be seeing in the future? What would you like to see in the future?
I think the thing that excites me most is the lower barrier of entry for everybody. That when we started, there were really no tools. Like the first game I worked on System Shock 2, well, Thief and System Shock 2, we had to build that engine. The Looking Glass guys at Looking Glass had to build that engine from scratch, and it was very crude and very rudimentary. And now you have stuff, and for distribution, you had to go through big publishers, and you had to deal with retailers, and big boxes had to get manufactured and put on trucks, and your only interaction with a customer base was ship the product, basically, maybe go to an AOL message board. And now with the fact that you can have, you know, Kickstarter and have things going in alpha and having interactions with the audience, and you look what Chris Roberts is doing, you know, with his Kickstarter, and, you know, having the audience be a part of the development process and saying what they want and what they don't want, that lower barrier of entry is leading to what I think of sort of like artisanal game development, you know, where you can really make things for a particular audience, and where before you really had to shoot for a mass market, and I think that's the most exciting thing. And you know, and I've tended to make in the past few years big mass market products, but we didn't come from that. You know, we came from making small. We didn't intend to make artisanal products. So we know we sold to 100,000 people. Like System Shock 2 probably sold 100,000 copies when it came out. I think when it just got re-released, it sold 300,000 copies or something. So it's actually grown in popularity over time. But it never would have gotten re-released if it had to go back on the shelves and go to Walmart and all those things. So that's really exciting, is that lower barrier of entry. That means more people making games. That means more people experimenting. That means more people communicating with their audience. And to me, that's why I feel we're at the bottom of a mountain. It keeps changing, and the barriers keep getting lower, and therefore you just get more and more experimentation, where other fields are becoming more stratified in some degree. You know, you really have a high barrier of entry. I love that about our industry.
Well, now that you've won a Lifetime Achievement Award, what other things have you won awards for in your time? Has there been any kind of weird awards? You know, like best hair at school or best shoes, I don't know.
No, there was no appearance awards of any kind. Well, some people do. I get a lot of comments about my beard, but exclusive from like 20-year-old guys. So,
some like not completely altruistic motion.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but guys for the beards, if you think it's about the ladies, now all the comments are from the 20-year-old guys. Since we started the games, we won a bunch of awards, but the games industry is weird because there's not a lot of sort of, in America, there's not a lot of sort of centralized awards. There's a bunch of interesting awards. We won. I think the most interesting award I ever won is we won a BioShock 1 Game of the Year at the VGAs one year, and a group of guys dressed like chickens came on stage from like a company called Gamecock, which no longer exists. And as I was about to do my acceptance, these chickens show up on stage and like start talking about their company Gamecock, and I got unceremoniously escorted off the stage. So that probably was the highlight of my award career so far. So I'm keeping my expectations in line.
So you don't know what they've got planned for you later, then?
No idea.
Oh, good.
If there's not chickens, you know, I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
Cocks of a different kind?
I imagine the room, will there be a number? Yes, the room will be mostly cocks. A high cock proportion.
It is gaming. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing your time with this. Congratulations on the award. Very well deserved, and thanks for chatting to us. Cheers.
Subscribe to SBTV to keep updated on the latest releases, and check out more of our videos below.